Alright, so I think we're going to be doing another Oncidium care video today, and that is because for some reason Oncidiums are insanely popular, and I understand it. This one smells like chocolate, so it's like the best one ever, but I have had a lot of problems with them, so I don't really understand why people say these are easy or beginner orchids, because that has not been my experience at all. If you want to keep an orchid or really any plant alive, then light, temperature, humidity, water, and airflow are going to be the 5 things you need to know in order to keep your plant healthy and happy, because those are the things that are going to be different on every plant. So for light, these guys want quite a bit of sun. They live on the sides of trees, so 4 to 6 hours of direct sun every day is going to be perfect. Morning or evening sun is wonderful. Since they live on trees, they're not getting sun during that midday, harsh, hot midday sun. So keep it morning or evening. A southern window is generally good inside, but if you have a tree nearby, that's going to be even better. Eastern or western is going to be what I prefer. Eastern is going to be wonderful for these. So now temperature, these are not picky, but they don't want to be either extremely hot or extremely cold. I try to keep them somewhere between 55 degrees and 85 degrees generally. A little bit outside of that is fine, but if you keep them in that range, they'll be pretty happy. Let's do water. So these guys are advertised as really water loving. They love water, they drink it all up, that's what people say. That has not been my experience. I don't water as well as I should, that's why I get these little accordion leaves, and that's because I find they rot extremely easily. So I let mine completely dry out in between waterings, because that's what they would do in the wild. I should probably just use a smaller pot or a larger, chunkier medium, even though it's in already a very chunky bark, so then it dries a little faster. But since I don't like watering this one every few days like it would normally get in the wild, I'm just going to keep on having it in a pretty decent sized pot and letting it dry completely, because it works pretty well for me. Humidity. So humidity, these are pretty forgiving of humidity if you don't mind some like crispy tips and stuff. They will get black spots on the leaves pretty commonly. That is nothing to worry about, but if you have lower humidity, then the ends do brown a little bit and get crispy. Only aesthetic, it will not hurt the blooms. That is kind of why we keep the orchids for the flowers, so if the leaves don't look perfect, that's okay. Humidity is super easy. These are super forgiving, but they do prefer a 60 to 80% humidity range. I try to keep them 30 to 50. That's kind of what all my plants get. When they're packed around other plants, they do get more ambient humidity, but generally 30 to 50% is going to be more than enough to keep these happy. And if you do have lower humidity, then you can just water a little bit more often, because the potting medium will be drying faster. So you'll be able to water more. You won't have as much problems with rot as long as you're giving them enough light. So it'll be super easy. Oncidiums are great for that. So airflow is mostly for miniature orchids, but I'm going to include it because it is useful to know for all plants. Orchids, because they live on the sides of trees, their roots especially want good airflow. If you do not have a space that has air circulation, then this is probably not going to do too well. Plants overall, they want lots of passing air. You'll notice that when you're outside, you're never really just going to be smelling the same thing in one spot. It's always going to be moving by you. It's always going to be moving. So plants dry extremely fast. They get a lot of fresh air. They get a lot of new things around them. So if they're trying to suck in more CO2 and there's only the oxygen that they previously put out, they will not be growing as well. So that is something to keep in mind. These do not need anything crazy, strong airflow, but if you have a fan, if you have air conditioning, if you have any kind of thing like that that has air blowing in your house, you should be fine. But if you do notice that you have more stagnant air, cracking a window, turning on a fan will keep these things so happy.
I hope that this gives you the confidence to go out and get your own Oncidium orchid, because the Oncidium Cherry Baby, especially like this one, is the best Oncidium orchid I have owned. It smells like chocolate, it has all these flowers, there's nothing not to love. So good luck!